So, our very first speaker is the wonderful Zen Benefiel. And I've met him relatively recently, although we have been on LinkedIn, connected on LinkedIn for some time. And I went and had a stalk of his profile, like you do. And this was on there, and it said, "Our bodies are instruments, transceivers of consciousness. We don't know how to tune them, let alone play in concert yet." That's what collaboration is all about. We cannot think our way through a system built on vibration. It's not all about here, it's about here. We must sense our way. In the silence is the way. So I hand over to you now to Zen to share your thoughts. Thank you so much for being with us today, Zen.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you for inviting me, Jill. I've been so impressed with the work that you're doing and the heartfelt connection. It's my understanding that our core desire, our core reason for being here is to learn how to love and be loved. It's so rich, and yet we live half inside and half outside, and we don't know how to bridge those in a lot of places and spaces in our own lives. And those that do really find a richness and a fulfillment where there wasn't.
Mm.
Um, what I'd like to do is, before I begin with my presentation, as I muddle around with my slides, and Nikki, thank you. That was just an amazing connective tissue that you provided initially. So I would like to build upon that. And just for a moment, I'd like you to close your eyes and put your fingertips together. Close your eyes now and deepen your breath and feel your heartbeat in your fingertips. Now, as you're doing that, I'm going to give you a visual of you looking into the mirror, into your own eyes. And with full sovereignty, I would like for you to say to yourself, I love you. Our purpose is oneness. Just feel your heartbeat. Why does that make a difference? Because you're out of your head. That's the place that you can find your own personal sovereignty and the depth of love, which today seems like, a recursive function that takes you into the nothingness from which all things come. So imagine yourself dissolving into that place, restoring whatever it is inside of you and coming out anew and building from there in the outer world. It's a phenomenal experience, I got to tell you. All right, so let me see if I can share my slides here and we'll get. Doo, 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 doo. All right. Now, as in my own fashion, I was working on things up to the very end, and so I will hopefully give you my best shot. So again, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share and for you joining here with Jill today. We stand at a time when humanity faces extraordinary changes, but also extraordinary opportunities. The vision of Planetary Citizens is to help us shift from fragmentation to collaboration, from survival of the fittest to survival of the most cooperative. Today, I want to share a journey, a few practical tools, and most importantly, an invitation for each of us to step more fully into our shared role as co-creators of the future. At our core, humans are not meant to dominate, but to co-create. This is the essence of planetary citizenship. It's about living in service to the whole, aligning our gifts with a greater purpose, and cultivating harmony among people and planet. Now think about your own experience for a moment. Where have you felt most alive when working with others instead of against them. Now, my own path has been anything but straight. I started in aerospace, managing multi-million-dollar projects where precision and accountability were everything. From there, I moved into public events and TV production, then high school and post-secondary education, and then into construction partnering and transformational coaching, spaces where I could bring structure together with heart. Today, I served recently as operations director of Live and Let Live Global Peace Movement. Now I serve as the founder of Planetary Citizens, host of One World in a New World podcast, and as a guide for transformation through BeTheDream.com. The skills for the latter supports over 200 global guests joining me in conversations about transformation, unity, and wisdom. Alongside that, I've authored over 40 books across leadership, spirituality, and even ufology. But through it all, my devotion has remained steady to serve the awakening of humanity. How many of you have had a career or life path that didn't look like a straight line? What twists or turns shaped who you are today? Uh-oh, there we go. Excuse me. Now, Planetary Citizens, isn't new. It's been reborn. It's from the ashes of Donald Key's original efforts. He was a speechwriter for Youth Thought in the 70s, who was then the executive director of the UN. And it wasn't ready for prime time then. Now it's taken an evil leap to synergize the symmetry of the recursive function in AI and humanity. Now, synchronicity for me is several years ago, I had a 28-year dream come true and being interviewed by Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove for his podcast, New Thinking Aloud. The title of the very first conversation he thought was best was A New World Order, expressing some of the things I'd experienced and what I'd found from a spiritual awakening at 18. Now, what was curious is that several years later, I interviewed him, and in the process, he related to me that he had Don Key's unpublished memoirs and offered a copy to me, which I gladly accepted. And to read those, it's like a mirror of my own life in a different place. And I think we all can have those types of experiences. Now, today, I'd like to highlight Planetary Citizens' strategic plan that brings multiple frameworks together. PC offers a new C-suite, if you will, consciousness, community, and co-creation to go along with the technology that's catapulting us forward. Now, Kardashev years ago came up with a scale of type 1, 2, and 3 planets that use planetary energy, solar system energy, and galactic energy. So think about the consciousness that would need to accompany that and how we might acquiesce and even prompt that evolutionary leap in humanity as we move forward. Now, why planetary citizenship? It allows us to go from breakdown to breakthrough. We live in a time of profound complexity. Our old systems, political, social, economic, simply cannot handle the challenges of the 21st century. But breakdowns always precede breakthroughs. Planetary citizenship reframes life as part of one planetary whole. It's not about survival of the fittest anymore. It's survival of the most cooperative. The future belongs to those who put people and planet above profit. Now, where do you see cracks in the system around you? And what breakthroughs might those cracks be pointing toward? Now, one of the models we use is spiral dynamics. It gives us a map of evolving values. Each stage of human development adds complexity and perspective. None are wrong, none are obsolete. The key is to nurture, not to force. We meet people where they are and guide them forward with understanding and compassion. In parallel, Hawkins' scale of consciousness, from fear and survival all the way to love and enlightenment, offers another way to see this same growth. These maps help us navigate both personal and collective evolution. Now take a breath. Where do you feel you are on this spiral of growth? And how does that shape the way you connect with others? Now, this framework gives us a lens for empathy. It helps us understand why cultures and organizations behave the way they do. Instead of judging differences, we see them as stages of growth. Instead of conflict, we find compassion. That's the power of using spiral dynamics as a foundation. It creates understanding across divides. Now imagine applying this in your workplace or community. How might it change the way you see disagreements? Now, Barbara Marx Hubbard gave us a gift in her 12-sector co-creation wheel, which, by the way, came out of spiral dynamics. It's a dashboard for planetary change, helping us see where we can contribute and where partnerships can form. That's a really cool thing. Now, when all sectors engage, education, environment, governance, health, economics, and more, collective intelligence emerges. That's when transformation takes root. Now, looking at these 12 areas of life, which one stirs something in you? Where do you feel called to serve? After a 30-year hiatus from a TV show I produced in the 90s called One World, my wife, Luba, a piano pedagogue raised and trained in the USSR of all places, what a perfect partner. She encouraged me to start talking to people again during COVID in April of 21, actually. And One World in a New World was born in June. Now, with 200 plus episodes, we're ranked in the top 10 sense-making podcasts of 2025 by Million Podcasts, which is quite the honor. We've also compiled the first 3 years in compendiums in researching 8 common areas amongst the interviews, and also including a chapter at the end of each book on the golden threads. So it's rich with opportunity to learn and grow and commiserate and co-create your next step. And I've also, in a little story, a little background on Planetary Citizens, I got the domain in 2010 and I posted, knowing of Don Key's work at the time, but it was way too much work to include all that. So I showcased all the world servers at that time up through 2023 when I got tapped on the shoulder to uh, put the application for nonprofit status into the IRS here. We got that in December 2024. I spent completely rebuilding the website to what it is today with the help of, I mentioned AI earlier. So I created a chat GPT and loaded a lot of ancient texts along with several of my books and queried how this might need to be presented in order for it to make sense and then to help make that sense common. Part of that then, as a logical conclusion, I didn't really think about it to begin with, I'm a writer, right? So a friend suggested, hey, what about your book? So I took the time, wrote a book on planetary citizens, awakening the heart of humanity. And as you might notice, it's got a couple of reviews here if you've been reading. One from Alex Laszlo. If you're familiar with Dr. Irvin Laszlo, the grandfather of quantum systems thinking, that's his son. He's also on our board. And then also a brief from Jeffrey Mishlev. And I really liked how he saw that we reframed globalism in a much more positive way as a collective rather than command and control structure. By the way, the book's also available at planetarycitizens.net as a free download. Now, the co-creation wheel in practice. Planetary citizenship is not just an idea. It's a daily practice. It begins with awakened consciousness and moves into compassionate action. One daily question can change everything. How can I serve the whole today? From there, we engage, choosing a sector and offering our gifts. We evolve, measuring success by the strength of our relationships. And we explore, discovering where we are on the spiral so we know our growth edge. And just pause for a moment. If you ask yourself that question tomorrow morning, how can I serve the whole today? What's one small action you might take? And this is where philosophy becomes lived reality. Planetary citizenship is about inner coherence and outer collaboration as a result. It's about building networks based on trust, compassion, and contribution. It's about empowering individuals to act locally while staying aligned with a global vision. What would it look like if every action you took, even small ones, was aligned with planetary citizenship? Now, why does this matter to Collaboration Global? Because collaboration requires shared purpose and aligned common goals in order to love and be loved. The spiral lens gives us understanding across differences, and the co-creation wheel provides a map to direct collective action. Together, these tools help turn aspiration into practice and community into co-creation. It moves good intention into effective action. Now think of a group or network you might be part of. How might these tools help align your efforts more effectively? Now let's bring it all together. Humans are not meant to dominate. We're meant to co-create. The future depends on cooperation, compassion, and stewardship. We have tools, spiral dynamics, the co-creation wheel, daily alignment practices, and much more I'm sure you're aware of. The Planetary Citizens book offers stories, vision, and guidance. But ultimately, this is about each of us taking up the invitation to live as planetary citizens. So here's the invitation. Join us. Be part of this activity. Step into your role as a co-creator. Ask yourself daily, how can I serve the whole today? Together, through shared purpose and collective action, we can turn today's complexity in tomorrow's harmony. Planetary citizenship isn't just a theory, it's a choice. And that choice begins with you. I invite you to bring your gifts, your voice, and your spirit into this wheel of co-creation. Because when each of us plays our part, the whole world changes. Thank you.